Okay, so we are learning today, as we said last week, the topic of Kitniyot on Pesach. Right? Kitniyot on Pesach brings many questions. What is forbidden? Why is it forbidden? What happens if Kitniyot are mixed up before Pesach? Do you have to sell Kitniyot? Can you cook Kitniyot on Pesach? And many other questions we have about Kitniyot on Pesach. I think to give us a deeper understanding of some of the halachot, we won't start from Kitniyot on Pesach. We'll start from a mixture of chametz before Pesach. Okay, and on Pesach. What happens when we have chametz mixing up on Pesach or before Pesach? And from there, we'll go to Kitniyot. Okay, Kitniyot, legumes on Pesach. Says the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Taf Mem Zayin 447 in paragraph 4, Seif Daled. If chametz was mixed up before Pesach and it was nullified in 60, it was 1 out of 60. There's only a small portion of chametz. Says the Shulchan Aruch, אינו חוזר ונאור לאסור במשהו. ויש חולקים. Okay? The Shulchan Aruch said it doesn't wake up. Explain it soon. It doesn't wake up on Pesach to make a problem even in a small portion. And
why doesn't it say the halacha say what it's mixed up in?
It's mixed up in not what do you mean? What is it mixed up in?
Chametz. That would be the question. If I was writing a Gemara now with you, you would say you would have made your statement, and I would have said mixed up in what? Because you didn't say
mixed up in non-chametz. Okay, mixed up in something which isn't chametz. So I think we mentioned last week and the week beforehand that on Pesach itself, if a small portion of chametz falls in food on Pesach itself, according to most of the poskim, all of the mixture is forbidden on Pesach. That's if the mixture goes into the food on Pesach itself. Okay, so if you have a small crumb, you find it on Pesach, on the way to the garbage, you go over the soup, and by mistake, it falls into the soup. Well, that's a bad problem. So all the soup is forbidden on Pesach. Says the Shulchan Aruch, and in the first opinion, if there's a mixture of the majority isn't chametz and less than 1 out of 60, like more or less 1.5%, right? More or less of chametz is in that mixture before Pesach, and it gets mixed up, so it's nullified, and it doesn't like wake up on Pesach again to say, okay, we have a small portion of chametz in here, so everything is forbidden. Since it was nullified before Pesach, all of the mixture is fine. All the mixture is fine.
That's only if it was nullified. So before Pesach, before it's nullified, if any chametz falls into something that's Pesach, it's all chametz. But after you nullify it, if a piece of chametz falls into a Pesach food, you can it can be bottled.
If it's before Pesach, if it happens before Pesach.
There's any actual nullification.
So before Pesach, but after it, but
let's say today.
There's 3 markers. There's now, there is the time that it's bottled.
Okay, yeah. The
see what I'm asking?
What from Erev Pesach, the 6 hours?
The time now.
Okay.
The time after it's bottled, after it's nullified.
Mm-hmm.
How are we calling nullified in Hebrew?
Batel.
Okay. So the time now, the time after it's bottled or nullified, and then after Pesach starts. So if something falls into if something chametz falls into a Pesach item now, prior to nullification.
No, when I say nullified, I mean a mixture. Maybe when I say nullified, I don't mean what we say, the text we say of kol chamira v'chamia deika b'rshoti, when we actively burn the chametz and use the term of nullified. I mean a mixture which you have a small portion, less than 1 out of 60. So then it's like it's dissolved inside the chametz, inside the Pesach, and it's as if it doesn't exist anymore.
Even if that happened now?
It happened now.
Okay.
Okay. For example, let's take a different example. We are making now a nice chicken soup. A nice chicken soup, and comes a foreign worker with a small portion of tray food. My mistake, put it inside. If it's batel b'shishim, so the same. If it fell now into the food before Pesach, it's batel b'shishim, and on Pesach it doesn't come back to life. The chametz stays batel. Okay. The Shulchan Aruch brings the opinion that disagrees, and we have the rule in the Shulchan Aruch that when he brings an opinion like a stam, without any some say, some don't say, just brings it as a simple opinion, and then he brings, he says yesh omrim, some hold differently, so we go by the first opinion, which means the chametz is batel b'shishim, it's cancelled 1 out of 60, and you can eat it. You can eat the whole mixture on Pesach. Okay, the Rama argues. Okay, the Rama argues. You can already guess, but the Rama doesn't argue completely. He argues only in a, and we'll explain the definition in yavesh beyavesh. Okay, something which is dry in dry. He does not argue, or he agrees with something which is lach belach. Okay, so, liquid in liquid. The idea of it, I think, is quite simple to understand the reasoning for it. When I mix let's say, bottle of beer inside the big soup, you can't tell the beer. It's everywhere, right? It's everywhere. Even if, let's say, I take flour, which is, let's say, I have chametz, which is flour, or grind up how do you call it? Breadcrumbs. Yeah, grind up very, very fine, and I mix it up very, very fine, and I mix it up inside kosher for Pesach matzah meal. It's you can't tell the difference. It's mixed up. There's no way to tell the difference between the chametz thing and the Pesach thing. Everything is just it's a big mixture, and that's why it doesn't wake up on Pesach. Okay, so it's batel before Pesach. But if it's yavesh beyavesh, which means I have a piece of wheat inside the soup, I can't see it. Why? Because it's a huge pot of soup, and I have a small piece of wheat inside. Since the piece of wheat, the grain of wheat, still exists alone, okay, so in Pesach it will come back to life again. That's the thing you can make sense. Even although it was batel b'shishim, since it still has its own existence, and you can, if you look for the pot, theoretically you could find it. Maybe it's very hard. What is it?
It's dry and dry.
It's dry and dry. Okay, or dry.
So it doesn't really mix.
It doesn't mix together. Okay, so anything which doesn't really mix together on Pesach will become again and be a problem, and you can't eat it. But if it really blends in and you can't tell the difference of it, that will be fine on Pesach. Okay, so if it's less than 1 out of 60. So if I have, I'm not sure, we said a small proportion of beer that fell into a soup before Pesach, and everything will be fine if it's less than 60, and you can eat that soup on Pesach. We have different questions which come from this. But the general rule will be as follows. If the chametz is dissolved before Pesach and you can't tell it at all, so it's nullified in the portion of 1 out of 60. If theoretically you can tell the chametz alone, so it's a problem on Pesach. You can't eat it even if the mixture was done before Pesach. Okay? That's for mixtures. And from that, we're moving to Kitniyot. Okay, brother, we're moving to Kitniyot. So we all know, as Ashkenazim, that Ashkenazim don't eat Kitniyot on Pesach, right? And then there's always between Sephardim and Ashkenazim, who have better food, come to us, eat rice, eat. And some will say, no, we like the Pesach food. The Pesach has an interesting flavor for it. The only spice we can use is Pesach. Okay, Pesach has a spice itself, and some people like. Anyway, that's it. He brings here the whole question. And I think in our days when we are so used to having everything almost all year round, so for some of us it's very hard. How can you have Kitniyot on Pesach? Not that we eat so many legumes, but how can you have Kitniyot on Pesach? So we have many questions which arise around Kitniyot. Now, beforehand, we have to ask it all, where did that minhag of Kitniyot come from? How old is it? Is it considered a minhag? Or is it a decree, a gzera of Chazal? Okay, so Sephardim eat Kitniyot. most of the Sfaradim eat most of the Kitniyot. There are some Sfaradim who don't eat some of the Kitniyot. Moroccans don't eat some of the Kitniyot, some don't eat rice. In the Gemara, we can see already that Chazal ate Kitniyot. Everyone agrees that Kitniyot and Chametz. Chazal say he ate Kitniyot. Even a question about rice, can you eat, is rice considered one of the grains or not? But Chazal ate Kitniyot. There's no question about that. Around the times of the Rishonim, more or less 700 years ago, the custom of not eating kitniyot started to come. There was a question: why did it come? The Mishnah Berurah even brings a term like one of the Rishonim. He brings te'amim klushim. He brings weak explanations for this minhag of kitniyot. And although you can argue in each one of those reasons, which we'll explain soon, in the end, that's the minhag, and the Rama says ve'ein lishanot, you shouldn't change. That's the minhag. I think Pesach is the chag of minhagim. We mentioned last week. Pesach is the chag of tradition. We pass a tradition from father to son, right? From from the parents to the children. Today, my daughter told me, was telling me something about her teacher moving an apartment and moving somewhere here in Ma'ale Edomim, and she said to me, my mother, my wife, told me that the teacher is moving from one place to another place, and she's best friend with someone else, and now it's for sure true. It's 100% true, because why mother lied to me? The logic of a child, interesting logic of a child. I thought, wow, that's an amazing idea for Pesach. Why would the mother lie for me? So obviously, it's my mother said it must be true. So Pesach is the chag of traditions. As we mentioned last week, it's a holiday of traditions. Each family has a tradition. How you do the seder? One of the traditions is not eating kitniyot, although we know it's not chametz. So why don't we eat kitniyot on Pesach? Well, if it was Purim, I would say the reason we don't eat kitniyot on Pesach because we just don't like kitniyot. We don't like to eat beans. We don't like to eat hummus. It's more of a Sephardi food, but it's not Purim. It's Pesach, and I can see that you didn't like this answer, this explanation. You like to eat legumes? Very, very healthy, right? You know the legumes every day. Okay, so where does it come from? Say here, maybe. Okay, I'm not sure. Maybe it could be that the minhag came from the fact that in Ashkenaz they used to eat less legumes, and people used to get mixed up. That's I'm saying quietly, but that's not to be recorded, not to be. Okay, that could be one of the sources. They said chametz is from the 5 grains. Chametz is from the 5 grains, and the poskim bring different explanations, or mainly 3 main explanations why we don't eat kitniyot. One of them is we cook kitniyot in the same way we cook grains. You can make barley soup, and you can make also beans and chili. Right? So both of them are cooked for a long time, and you cook them, and people might get mixed up. I have just a moment. A few years ago, I was giving a class about kitniyot, and I was saying that people used to get mixed up between the grains.
Do they get mixed up between milk and
I said that we have barley, grisei pnina. How do you call them? Pearl barley. And one of the guys, before even I finished to say my sentence and say that's, for example, chametz. So a guy jumped up and said, yes, barley is kitniyot. And I said to him, thank you very much. That's exactly the example we need to show that people do get mixed up between them. Okay, so that is one reason. And depending who people can still get mixed up between them. And since chametz is so severe, and it's a karet, and even if it's a small portion of chametz, the problem, we said, let's go away from kitniyot since they might have chametz in them. Since people might mistake it with chametz. Another reason could be, it's not that the grain itself looks like the 5 grains. It's that the flour, you can make flour from legumes. Like some consider it as very healthy. When I was a child, we had not so far from where I live. I'm not sure if you still have it today. It's maybe the olden shops where you go into the shuk and find different flours and open you're gonna find different flours made out of chickpea flour and other things, and people will get mixed up. Okay, they'll say this flour, they'll get mixed up. This is one reason. And the reason came also because in the old times when people used to live where they are, people knew the halacha, so this was fine. But more when Am Yisrael started moving from place to place, they started forgetting the exact details, so they were concerned about it. And the third reason is, it was true, I think, until quite a few years ago, not so many years ago. Today, it's a question about it that you could find mixtures inside when you buy hummus, when you buy chickpeas. You can find sometimes the grain of wheat. When you go to the shuk, I'm not sure if you can still do it in the shuk today. When I was a child, we used to go to the shuk, the market, and they used to have those big sacks full of different kinds of things. And you used to take the move from here to here to here, and things used to get mixed up. And even when you bought closed packets, okay, so it wasn't very often, but quite often, you could find different grains inside the packet.
Why is it different than the other country?
Oh, why is it different than every other kashrut issue? So here we come to the question of
in general is a matter of
Batel B'Shishim.
and of also separation.
Okay.
Distinguishing things.
Now let's say you buy a packet of grains. A packet of grains of chickpeas, for example. Okay, and it has one piece of wheat inside it. Okay. If you cook it before Pesach and you grind everything before Pesach and now it's a mixture, you have hummus, is that a problem? No, it was, even if you had some chametz, it was batel, it was nullified before Pesach. But if you cook it on Pesach itself, what will happen? We learned already that on Pesach itself, even a small portion of chametz inside the bowl is a problem. And if you might have one grain of wheat or barley or whatever inside the whole packet of chickpeas, so you have a problem. And because chametz is so hard, it's such a chamor, it's karet, the punishment is karet. And maybe also because in the end it's only 1 week. I mean, and then it's hard, and then it's only 1 week. Okay, and we all survived 8 days if you live out of Israel. So maybe that's why came the reason of Kitniyot. So that's the custom of Kitniyot. And as soon as it came the custom, so as many things that Chazal said, and who asked soon is that the Chazal decree or no, as many things that Chazal said, though, there's the idea of lo plug. We don't distinguish, people just will start getting mixed up. Let's make it light and simple. Lo plug. We don't start to differentiate between different cases. That's a very common. But that's generally speaking the reasons for Kitniyot. We have. If Kitniyot falls inside kosher for Pesach food, we'll discuss it in a few minutes. Okay, we're still trying to just understand what's the source of Kitniyot. We have here a question: if Kitniyot is a decree of Chazal or a custom which people started doing. Now, what do you think? What would it be? A custom was said in the times of Chazal. It wasn't people ate Kitniyot. So according to most, it seems like the simple idea in the poskim is it's a minhag. But as soon as someone does a minhag, that's a minhag of the nation. It's a minhag. There's different questions, and what's the difference between a minhag, between the decree of Chazal? One of them, according to many poskim in Kitniyot, is that if we have any argument, so in a minhag we go lehakel, we are makel. That might be one of them. Now, when we learn out the halachot, you can assume that any halacha will say it's mutar, it's permitted. So there will be some who will be machmir and say it is forbidden. Okay? You can assume that. So I won't go into details and say, some poskim say yes, some poskim say no. When we say that you can eat some kind of mixture, some kind of kitniyot, there are poskim who are machmir. Okay, so just you should know that. What I'm going to teach to get here, it's based also on the Rama. Rama is the Ashkenazi posek, and also based on the Pnei Halacha, who is accepted by many in the Dati Leumi society. Okay, so that's about the arguments we have. So let's go into the Rama and Kitniyot, and then we'll go into different questions, which we have practical questions. We have chocolate. Can you eat Kitniyot chocolate on Pesach? Can't you? If we have here the healthy people, they'll say, can you eat chocolate on Pesach? Or maybe you can't eat chocolate.
Chocolate comes from a bean.
So it's from cocoa beans. It's a tree. But what happens if it has inside soy oil in it? Okay, so let's go into the Rama and let's see. The Rama is in the Taf Nun Gimel 453 in the first paragraph of Taf Nun Gimel. Says the Shulchan Aruch, all the other Kitniyot, okay, Kitniyot don't become chametz, and you can eat them on Pesach without any problem. That is the Shulchan Aruch. The Sfaradim eat Kitniyot. The custom not to eat Kitniyot started in Ashkenaz, okay? And that's when it started, and only Ashkenazim accepted on them that idea of Kitniyot. Says the Rama, v'yesh osrim, some say you can't eat Kitniyot, you cannot eat Kitniyot. And he says, ve'aminhag be'Ashkenaz le'achmir. The custom in Ashkenaz is to be machmir, to be more stringent. I just want to open another source here. The custom is to be stringent, and he says ve'ein leshanot, and you shouldn't change. Okay, you shouldn't change. That's Rama. You can see how important the idea of custom is. Okay, that's the custom. And when we eat kitniyot, feel bad about it. We can say maybe there's no real reason for it. Maybe there is. Okay? But what really we're doing here, we are strengthening the power, or we're showing how big, how powerful is a custom in the Jewish nation. When a community decided something, that has a meaning. Okay, that's why is it important? Oh, because through the generations, the exile and everything, we had so many arguments. When's the Shemitah year? When's Shemitah year? It's not a minute, but as soon as we decided something, that's what we decided. Is today, I think, is only Kaf Daled Adar Bet. Who said maybe it shouldn't be Adar Bet? Maybe it should be the first Adar or the second or Nisan. Maybe we should. Today we have the mistake in Rosh Chodesh, and today it's Kaf Adar through the history. Sure, Beidin somewhere had mistakes every now and then. As soon as Beidin decided something, that is a decision. That's the halacha.
If so many Ashkenazim marry Sephardim, so many Sephardim marry Ashkenazim.
Okay.
And depending upon who it is in the relationship, the male or the female, that it changes.
It changes. That's also. Hopefully, I'm not sure we'll go to that, but we might get to that also today. Yeah. Well, that's what. It may like that.
To not maintain it.
What about halak? Sephardim don't eat only meat which is halak.
I always look at that as a personal choice of people.
No, so minhag, that's a Sephardi minhag. That's what they have to do. A Sephardi can't change his minhag. Okay, minhag of a community, he can't change it.
I mean, even I know my father-in-law, but Shalom always said, it's amazing that people today, well, he's nifted many years, but people at that time were talking about the praises of Hasidic Shechita. He says in Europe, why wouldn't it be eaten? Because by many Ashkenazim, because if the knives weren't sharp enough that the Hasidim used,
okay,
and that was why.
So that's I think more. I'm not sure. Shechita of Hasidic. I'm not sure if it's more of a kabbalistic or minhagistic or maybe political question, and we won't go to it now because let's just try to get you in the 9 minutes we have left. 8 minutes we have left. So says the Rama, that's the minhag we shouldn't change. But it says miu. It's simple, okay? Miu pashut. Okay, it's simple. It's obvious. Okay, it's obvious. De'ein osrim b'di'avad im naflu toch hatavshil. It's obvious that if a small portion of kitniyot fell inside the food, you can eat the food. It's obvious that you can do it. Says the Rama, b'di'avad on Pesach, obviously on Pesach. Yeah, that's obvious. Okay, if you have a few legumes falling inside the food on Pesach, it's fine. Okay, so if it. And he says in the Darkei Moshe. Darkei Moshe is a commentary of the Rama, the same Rabbi Moshe Isserlish, on the Tur. Okay, on the Tur, we learned that in Chametz, okay, in Chametz, if a small portion of Chametz falls on Pesach, in Pesach, inside a mixture, so we can't eat all the mixture. Says the Rama, I'll read here one sentence. Lo machmirin al kal esrot avshi. We add machmir to say that you can't eat the food. because they so much with something that only a small portion makes everything being forbidden. Eino ela behei minei dagan. It's only in the 5 grains. And kitniyot, even if maybe in the end kitniyot isn't chametz. Okay, everyone agrees kitniyot isn't chametz. So even if a small portion of kitniyot fell inside the food, it's fine. You can eat it. Okay, you can eat the food. Oh, that's exactly the next sentence. What do I mean by a small portion? So let's say if it's less than 60, that's for sure fine, right? What about 45%? I'm not saying 49 because 49 is too close, but let's say 45%.
That's still a lot.
It's still a lot.
45% is a lot.
Says the Mishnah Brura. Okay.
You're talking about 45%, or I mean, we were talking about the Bashishin is 1 in 60.
1 in 60. That's
45%
chametz.
is 45 in 100.
And 100, right? Okay. Says the Mishnah Brura. Okay. The minhag isn't to be machmir when kitniyot fell inside the mixture. We don't eat kitniyot itself. We can eat a mixture that has kitniyot in it. That says the Rama and the Mishnah Brura. Says the Mishnah Brura, obviously, but if you find kitniyot inside your food, take it out, throw it away. So let's say I go to my Sephardi family. Okay, I go to my Sephardi family. They don't make shulant. What do they make? Chamin. Okay, they make chamin. They make it with legumes. Oh, can I eat it? Can't I eat it? What do I do? Go for it. Don't eat the legumes. Take the potatoes out. Take the meat out. Eat the good things. And everyone will define food a different way. And just don't eat the legumes. If you take out the goods, okay, if you take out you can take out the food from what you aren't eating, what you want. Okay, so those the piece of the legumes that you see, throw them out, but you can eat the rest of it. How much is the mixture? Asked Harry. Says the Mishnah Brura, okay, we're talking about at least there must be a majority of the forbidden, the heter, the permitted food, which means you have to have at least 51% of other things. Let's say not 51%, you get mixed up. 55%, okay? And that brings us to a question of chocolates. Okay, many of us go to a shop before Pesach and we want to buy chocolate, kosher for Pesach chocolate. And unfortunately, all of the good chocolates say on them, kasher Pesach, le'ochlei kitniyot bilvad. Even more than that, you want to buy minced meat or chicken or whatever. Some of them have soy added to them. Some of them have soy added to them. The reason they're adding the soy, it's not to now to give you soy and giving you kitniyot on Pesach. No, they're doing it because different commercial reasons, right? They aren't trying to be mevatel isur to take something which is forbidden and say to you, now you can eat it because we made a mixture. No, they didn't do it for different reasons. So if I now buy an Erev Pesach chicken, and it says on it has a small portion of kitniyot inside it, can I see the kitniyot inside? Can I see the soy inside? No, I can't see it. In the chocolate, can I see the soy oil inside? I can't see it. I cannot see it, right? According to the Rama here, can you eat it on Pesach? Yes, you can eat it on Pesach. Now, as I mentioned, the poskim who will say you can't eat it on Pesach, and that's why the kashruyot will write on it le'ochlei kitniyot bilvad. It's only for people who eat kitniyot. But many poskim say you can eat it, and if you go by the rule that in the minhag, when we have a custom, it's not that even at the Kriyon Chazal, we are more lenient. You can eat those chocolates on Pesach.
Why can you not?
What?
Why?
Because you can't see the legumes themselves, right? They don't, and the mix there's less than 50%, much less than 50% legumes. Hopefully, otherwise it's not real chocolate. So then that's why you can eat it on Pesach.
Isn't there a push to try to say everyone can eat kitniyot today?
There is a push from some poskim, and some poskim are very much against it. Okay, so that's the
for Abbas Yisrael and for Abraham
people say peace, and that in the end, we in my wife's family, she has 2 Yemenite people married, brothers-in-laws. Doesn't cause any problems, so they eat their food. If you really go to it in a proper way, that doesn't really cause any fights in families.
We came to Israel for my son's bar mitzvah, and half the restaurants you couldn't eat it.
Because you can't eat kitniyot. So, see, here comes the question: if you go to a restaurant, okay, that's the only way. better to go to a restaurant which is without kitniyot. But let's say that's the restaurant you have. I saw a question yesterday, I think it was. Someone's doing a seder for people who were evacuated from up north in the hotel. The hotel cooks kitniyot. Can they eat there or can't they eat there? The answer is they can eat in the hotel. They can take the chulent and take the kitniyot out and eat the chulent. They can't eat the kitniyot if they can identify the kitniyot. But if it's a mixture, they can eat it, and they can't, so they can eat it. Even if they used oils of kitniyot. Let's try to touch two more short topics, and really touch just on the base of it, and that's it. Oil, and other things which didn't get in contact with water. So some poskim say it's asur even if it never touched water. You can't eat the kitniyot, the legumes. Some say if it never touched water. So if I take a grain of wheat, I picked it now from the plant. It never touched water. Can I eat it on Pesach? Wheat on Pesach. It never touched water. It's not chametz. You can eat it on Pesach without any problem. Some poskim will say the same with kitniyot. Okay, if it never touched water, you can eat it on Pesach. Another question we have is what exactly is kitniyot? Different spices. We have a question if it's kitniyot or not kitniyot. Therefore, so for the bottom line, we should maybe learn more deeper what is kitniyot and other halachot about it. There are poskim who are quite makel about rice crackers, about different kinds of oils, canola oil, and other things. And the some poskim say with the chocolate, it's also you can eat it without any problem. But as I said, there's arguments and machloket here, and in the end, each one needs to choose their own path of what to do, not to do.
Talked about quinoa.
But we have quinoa is also a question. But okay.